Hello, and welcome back to the Mad Painter Show. Okay, first of all, I apologize for last week. We're not going to make that apology very long because we need to go ahead and stick to the point just in case this cuts off again. So we want to go ahead and get the video started. So last week we were talking about chess and checkers and discussing about kingdom takeover, kingdom minded, so forth and so on. But before we get to the point of this whole kingdom takeover, because are you all out there working on building an empire, working on having this, or building a family, which is part of that empire, or whatever it is? You have these ideas or goals. What are your ideas or goals? Have you considered let me rephrase that. Have you actually thought about what all of that, what part of you, how much of you is going to consist of building that? So it's like, what I'm really asking is, are you investing in yourself to become this great person in the process of building your great dream? Because this is all part of playing the game of life, this whole chess and checkers maneuvering thing. So if we're not working on playing checkers and everything is selfish wise, how do we go about getting out of selfish and actually thinking about the kingdom? So it's by actually studying a kingdom and studying ourselves and also studying the kingdom. So in the benefit of studying ourselves and studying the kingdom, we are understanding how to not hate that part of ourselves, the purpose and benefits, because this was the list that I was trying to give off last week, the purpose and benefits of healing, and the purpose and benefits of listening to yourself. So when we first begin, forgive me if you hear the helicopters outside. When we first begin, we are understanding that we have the king, the queen, I know it's the little castle, the horse. You have all these different pieces that serve a significant role in strategizing and getting over to the other part. So I want you to consider all of these pieces within you, okay? From the pawn on to the king. All of these pieces are within inside of you, because you have to understand how to maneuver in each and all of these pieces. So first, and how you go upon not hating yourself and hating the outside part of you. So I first look at it like Adam and Eve. We have this inner outer oneness before she was actually named Eve. So in considering the individual self, we have, you know how they're always in those pictures there in the cartoons, they would have the angel on one side and the demon on another side, and they're having these conversations, and you're like looking in, well, they have somebody looking in the middle of them trying to make a decision. Well, what we want to do is that instead of having these arguments like this within us, we want to align everything and understand these weakness parts and these strength areas and so forth and so on. So here we have a king and before we even get to the king and the queen, we have a male and a female within us. These male and female energies operate differently, but what we are wanting to do is unite them and make them like-minded, because the only way that the queen will have the mind to protect the king and so forth and so on is if she understands how to go about doing that. And that's also in us studying kingdom-minded strategies, which is why I discuss in reading the Bible, because here we learn about friendship, we learn about business, because in business, be a man. And all these women entrepreneurs, business, be a man. So it's like man and woman, but it's like you're being a man about what it is you need to do. So when you're understanding there is a time and place for everything, these different strategies will help you with intuition and logical thinking, feminine and masculine energy. This also goes for the men who are listening, because there has to be a balance in these things. In order for you to better appreciate the outer part of you who you're deciding to be your partner, you too have to also appreciate that inner self. Because when you're coming to this person, you want to understand how to heal, how not to hate that inner self, and how to go about listening to that self. And when you practice these things, which we're going to talk about, when you practice these things, you understand how to practice these things with your partner, so you'll better understand how to come together when it comes to operating kingdom-minded and being strategic about making from one move to another, because somebody's going to know more than the other. It's not always going to be one-sided. So in this submission, we have to submit to each other. When it comes to self, we have to submit to our higher selves and better to understand how to love ourselves, love our neighbors, so forth and so on. So when we're understanding how both of our masculine and feminine energy is working inside of us to make us a whole, in which too, when we connect with someone else, you too want them to better understand their masculine and feminine energy, so that we understand how to bring these 4, 5, 7, however many number that is, bring all of us together. And in going about taking time, I'm looking at the time, taking time to understand who we are, we have to start having those hard questions with ourselves. And purpose of journaling. When we are having these hard conversations with ourselves, we are beginning to have a practice of telling the truth to ourselves. And the more that we get into a point of telling the truth to ourselves and being willing to listen to the truth, we are opening more and more and more to the word of truth, and helping our spirit to have better discernment and what's going on and what it is that we need to do. So in these situations, because there is just so much jumping around in my head, and I'm trying to focalize it and I apologize. But in taking time out every morning, in the evening, to focus your mind on something that is going to better help you understand your purpose, and going about understanding your purpose and who you are thankful every morning. You are going about asking these questions. Who are you? What is your purpose? Because every day we are working, this is our mission. We are working to be more, to do more, so that we can have more. This is it's not about money. It's not about prestige, a name. We are working on a fullness of ourselves. And it starts with recognizing what love is. We understand, I hear so many people in counseling, I've heard so many people say, I know what love is, this, that, and the other. And it only comes from their perspective of love. And I believe I mentioned before, as far as Gary Chapman and his love languages, well, what I've paid attention to is the things that we speak about from our heart. It doesn't necessarily have to be like I'm trying to have a relationship with you, but just listening to people speak and hearing what they talk about is kind of like their look. If you pay attention between what they're saying and what they're not saying, you're having a better idea without your desires being included in what you're hearing. You're having a better idea of what this person's love language is, because if you're listening long enough, they're speaking from the heart what they're truly desiring. So we want to change our language and start developing a language of life, a language of abundance. And in working on that language of abundance, we're studying how we're working on feeding ourselves and how to change our language. And every day you're taking time out to read, if you're having issues with reading, you're listening to people, you're listening to things and words that it's giving you life. And we have to work on changing our belief. We have to believe that We can do this. First and foremost, we have to make up our minds and believe that no matter where we came from, no matter what's going on, we can make the decision to change our life right this very moment by changing our minds, changing our hearts, changing our will, willing to change our direction and what it is that we're trying to do. Because when it comes to the point you getting sick or tired of being sick or tired of whatever it is that you're sick and tired of, you're going to start seeking out ways to make them changes and those differences. So this is what this is about. So in starting, we're working off, starting off each day, having these hard conversations with ourselves, and when it gets to a point where these hard conversations with yourself is getting a little bit overwhelming, because our response to ourselves can sometimes be harsh, but this is why you're also getting in the practice of having these conversations with God, because once you see how